This is Cole Silver, and welcome to another edition of the Rain Dancing Expert audio series. Marketing a personal injury practice can be difficult. All the yellow page ads look the same, and those late-night TV commercials can run chills up your spine. What to do? Well, today's guest is a national expert at ethical marketing a personal injury practice and can help you do it effectively and ethically. Benjamin W. Glass III is a 1983 graduate of the George Mason University School of Law. Since that time, he has practiced exclusively in the area of personal injury, medical malpractice, ERISA, and private disability insurance law. He's licensed to practice and regularly handles cases in Virginia and the District of Columbia. Ben is the author of consumer bestsellers, The Truth About Lawyer Advertising, 5 Deadly Sins That Can Wreck Your Accident Case, Why Most Malpractice Victims Never Recover a Dime, and 14 Ways to Guarantee Your Disability Claim Will Be Denied. Ben has been invited to lecture in several continuing legal education seminars around the country, and more importantly, is the creator of Great Legal Marketing, the go-to source for information about effective, ethical, and outside-the-box marketing for personal injury attorneys. Welcome, Ben. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Cole. Good afternoon. Glad to be on the line today.
You know, you go into any city, Ben, and you open up a Yellow Page book and you see all these ads and they all look alike. Now, I know that you like Yellow Page ads, but you like to do it in your way. What are the great elements of a Yellow Page ad for a personal injury attorney?
Well, Cole, if you didn't know anything at all about marketing, Earl Nightingale once said all you had to do was look around and see what everyone else was doing and just do the opposite. And so what you have just described about any city, big city, small city, Yellow Page ads is absolutely true. And the two sort of critical things that any lawyer could do with the Yellow Page media are, one, change the headline, and two, make what we call an irresistible offer. Otherwise, it's marketing that just says, hey, I'm here. I hope that you called me because I don't know why. I've got a tiger, or maybe I used red ink or something. What we want to do is use an interesting headline and make an irresistible offer. And the offer usually is an offer of information. And I challenge anyone right now to look in their own Yellow Pages and see, is anybody doing that? Because it is very rare. But we know now it's very, very effective.
Let's talk, if we can, Ben, about the headline. Most of the headlines that I see in the Yellow Pages talk about, we've been in practice since 1908. We win all the cases. What should the headline say, and how should it be relayed?
Well, it should be interesting. So put yourself in the eyes of the consumer who is using that media, the Yellow Pages, and it's a good media, and it can work. And you're going through, and you see the headlines: no fee of no recovery. We care for you. We come to you 24 hours a day. Well, what if you had a headline that said something like, learn the 5 deadly sins that can wreck your Pennsylvania car case, free report or free book, available now from attorney Cole Silver. Well, just by having that headline amidst the other 30 or 40 or 50 ads sets you apart, frankly, without using color, without using 2 pages, and it's interesting because it's different. And then what we teach lawyers to do is to use more text than sort of visuals, and this goes contrary to everything the Yellow Page rep is telling you. But ultimately what we're trying to do, Cole, is to get the consumer who's in that media to stop, to look at your ad, and to raise their hand to you and say, Cole, that's interesting. I want that report. And by raising their hand, they're now identifying themselves to you, so you can send them not only the report, but a whole bunch of other things in a big, what we call now a shock and awe package, which, without being boastful, and merely because you're providing a lot of useful information, establishes you as the wise man or woman at the top of the mountain and starts building your credibility. And what we know now is that because everyone else is competing by trying to buy more space, if you will take this simple step of writing something and making that offer in the media can be the Yellow Pages, it can be the internet, it's whatever, you set yourself apart, and you start people down ultimately a multi-step funnel, really, through your marketing funnel, which weeds out cases you don't want, but also allows you, the lawyer, to really cherry pick cases and people that you really want to work with, which is a whole different sort of model than chasing with the tremendous offer of no fee if no recovery. I mean, that's not a very unique and special.
Or free consultation, right?
Free consultation, yeah. I mean, it really is. I mean, honest to goodness, if you look in the Yellow Pages, it's absolutely potluck that they pick you over the next lawyer. And people say, well, I want to be at the front. Well, half the people I know flip through the Yellow Pages starting at the rear because they're using their left hand instead of their right hand. We see all sorts of gimmicks now by the Yellow Page reps, with sort of subdividing the whole lawyer section into all these specialties.
But what I think I'm hearing you say is that in order to stand out, you want to have the headline be the grabber and then have the irresistible offer or the free report to educate the prospect, and that has to be tied in together.
Exactly. And the purpose of the headline is just to get them to keep on reading. And we teach lawyers how to have a text-filled Yellow Page ad, which really just piques their interest. And I'll tell you what you do. Look at ads that sell books, okay? And how are they piquing the reader's interest to go out to Amazon or to Barnes & Noble to buy the book? Well, we're doing the same thing, except our book is free, but you're writing like an ad, not for the lawyer. All we want to do is write an ad really for the book, because that can start people off in a process where now I'm talking directly to someone who has raised their hand and said, I'm interested. And now you can spend more money, more time, more steps talking directly to them using a variety of media, which nobody else is doing. And so now it's not potluck anymore, Cole.
And this ultimate goal, Ben, is to get them to contact you so you can get them the free report, get them into your database, or as you describe it, a funnel, so that you can constantly stay in front of them?
Exactly. And I would simply make the point that, yes, they're getting a free report, but in our case, they're getting books, they're getting audio CD interviews. We will shortly be adding a DVD to our package. So they're getting media in several different forms, and they're getting a lot more information than I could jam into a one-page, a Yellow Page ad. And so we're going to overwhelm them, again, not with stuff that says Ben Glass is the greatest lawyer since sliced bread, because that's not true, but just by giving them really good quality information about the legal process, the claims process, the insurance industry, your verdicts and settlements if you have them, your testimonials if you have them. Boy, they're not getting that from anybody else. And now what happens is they want to get in the line to pitch their case to you. And we have seen this in my practice and now with really, frankly, hundreds of lawyers across the country.
One of the things I want to discuss before we leave this Yellow Page ad is the discussion of the representative from Yellow Pages. What I think I'm hearing you say is that you should not rely on their advice and expertise, but maybe speak to someone like yourself or another type of marketing consultant.
Absolutely, because their goal, number one, is to sell. But number two, they can't afford to design an ad for you that will beat all of the other ads, because obviously that would upset their other clients. And they're not educated in this sort of what we call, this is direct response marketing. And so whether you look at work that I've done, or Bill Hammond in the elder law area, or Dan Kennedy in the marketing, in general area, the concepts are the same, and it begins with be different and be interesting, and it's not about marketing me so much in that Yellow Page ad. It's about marketing the information and starting the communication. It's if you're a fan of Seth Godin, he talks about permission marketing, and companies of all types who can get the consumer to raise their hand and say, Cole, I'm giving you permission now. I'm interested in what you have to say. That's how you build an interested group of people, and that's the best kind of marketing.
And that's done by education.
It is absolutely done by education. Trey Ryder's another great author and writer on this subject, and he's done a lot of really, really great work in this. And again, all you got to do is look, and you can make a choice. I can keep doing the same thing that everyone else is doing and the same thing I've been doing for years. And if those results are fine for you, great, keep doing it. Or you can tweak things just a little bit. I mean, it's not a ton of work here once you think about it and know what to do, and really exponentially grow your results.
You know, when I first started practicing about 27 years ago, there was a group of personal injury lawyers in the suite next to me, and I would hang out with them a lot, and they would complain that, you know, we haven't had a case this week, or, you know, tort reform or whatever. But I said, look at all these files. When a case is done, you're just closing the file. You're not, you know, staying in touch with the client and as you say, handling your funnel. Can you walk us through what are the best practices for personal injury attorneys to manage that funnel?
Yeah. I mean, well, we're talking really two things, sort of managing the funnel. So a new inquiry comes down, what's going to happen? And in my office, when someone, if they go to benglasslaw.com and they're from Virginia and they raise their hand and ask for a book, there's an 11-step sequence that kicks off over the next 14 days. So they're getting a variety of mailed packages, of mailed postcards, and some email marketing with some free reports back. So we're going to touch them in an interesting way 11 times in 14 days. And Cole, once I have the system set up, I mean, it's all automatic. It just kind of goes. And, you know, we have people that lick the envelopes and put the stamps on, but it's automatic. So that's one thing. And so what you do is, you know, you can do this on, you know, postcard or you know, index cards if you had nothing else, but we use some computer software that manages it. But and so that's one thing. It's what happens when they raise their hand. What are the steps? How am I going to communicate with them ethically, effectively, and most importantly, interestingly? Second part, what you're, I think, maybe alluding to is most people who raise their hand and say, I'm interested in hiring a lawyer, it's going to turn out that they don't really have a case that you want, particularly as your practice gets more successful and you increase your threshold of the cases that you want to deal with. Yet every one of those names that comes down through the funnel is valuable. There's a lifetime value attached to that name because, Cole, everybody knows 50 other people who would maybe show up at their funeral. And so they have influence over these people. And so what lawyers and most business people, frankly, tend to ignore is what we call the gold right on your office floor. And that is, as names come into the funnel, they go into a master database. And now we're talking to those people in writing at least 12 times a year. And now you notice I didn't say quarterly, I didn't say twice a year, at least 12 times a year with interesting newsletters, interesting postcards. And of course, I'm not talking about buying something canned and slapping your name on it. I'm talking about becoming a personality, becoming someone who's interesting to read, so that people think they know you. You know, in my practice, I write a lot about my kids and some charitable work we're doing and what my family's doing. And it's not all sort of the dry, boring legal stuff that you see in a lot of the prepackaged newsletters. So people know you. And what you need to do is you need to be touching them in writing at least monthly, because one of the great myths of the guys that you used to practice next to is they think, if I did a good job for the client, they'll remember me a year from now. It's not true. If you do a good job for the client, well, that's what you were supposed to do. That's nothing really special. And, I've been surprised before I learned all this over the years how many people, if I did a malpractice case for them, they went someplace else for their car accident case. Well, my marketing wasn't very good then. And so you need to stay in front of them to be the respected legal authority in your community. And frankly, Cole, even if you're running a personal injury practice or an estate planning practice, you want them calling your office for everything. You want to be the toll booth now through which all requests for legal services go. Not that you're going to do the work, but now you're the person they call and you say, well, yes, you need a divorce. Okay, here's 3 of my buddies who are divorce attorneys. And so now you're strengthening that relationship with that client or that contact, and you're strengthening your referral relationships. And so it's really neat when you get this set up and running and you ignore the marketing vultures, which are all the people trying to sell you the Yellow Page ad space. These really are effective systems. And once systematized, you just don't have to play with it too much. It runs on its own.
It's really a lot of great information you've just given us. With regard to the prospects who haven't yet turned into clients, you said to touch them 11 times in 14 days. That's not overkill?
It's overkill if you're boring.
Okay.
It's not overkill if you're interesting. And so, for example, our prospects get our book, The 5 Deadly Sins. They get another book I wrote, The Truth About Lawyer Advertising. They get a CD audio where someone did an interview with me and we talk about the practice. One of the postcards we send out is kind of a funny postcard. It's, the 12 questions you should ask the insurance adjuster, like, can I interview your insured and how much coverage is there? Things we know the insurance company is going to say, what, are you kidding? No, we just want to ask you questions. Another postcard talks about, the 30 ways the insurance company is going to try to cut your claim. Another sort of free report, we have a report on mistakes people make in dealing with their doctor. So, typically a lawyer would send something that says, I'm great, I've been in practice 48 combined years, I've got millions of dollars worth of verdicts, and I've got a pit bull as a logo. That's all about me, and that is boring, okay? It's not impressive to people. But if you give them information and it is interesting, it is not overkill. We just know that now from experience.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. If it's interesting information, how can they object? Let's talk about the system. You set up the system where you're hitting the prospect 11 times in 14 days. They become a client. They go into the client database. You then hit them with the newsletter at least every 30 days. What is the best technology to use to set up the system so you do it once and it runs automatically? Because as you described earlier, index cards just aren't going to cut it.
Right. Well, there's a lot of technology out there. Let me give you a couple of resources. I use a very high-end online CRM, customer relationship management software called Infusionsoft at infusionsoft.com. I love it. It's probably overkill for what most lawyers are doing. So a couple of friends and I, who we do the Great Legal Marketing seminars together, have developed with the help of a great developer another piece of software called Blue Orchid Marketing. And so if someone were to Google blueorchidmarketing.com, they'd find this sort of cut down CRM software that is doing the things that we are teaching. And we've got lawyers and podiatrists right now and a couple other industries using this to manage the marketing so that once you set up the steps, the computer is kicking off, in essence, reminders. Here's the list to your staff. Today, this report goes here. This postcard goes here. Now, truth be told, it's a little bit more work. I mean, somebody has to lick and stick this stuff, or you outsource it. We outsource, formatting and printing and mailing of our newsletters. But I think everybody has a choice, Cole, and the choice is you keep doing the same thing you're doing, and if you're satisfied and that's giving you a great life and a great practice, no reason to change. But if you're not satisfied with the way things are going now, you learn from somebody like me or Trey Ryder or Bill Hammond, somebody like you who's teaching, all right, this is what good entrepreneurs do. And that's another thing we teach is we got to look outside the lawyer industry to get good ideas from other businesses and ask ourselves this question: how can I make that work in my business? And we teach lawyers how to really, really expand their thinking, because a lot of the stuff, I tell you 11 steps in 14 days, and a whole bunch of people listening to this later might go, oh, I could never do that, or that won't work with my clients, or that's overkill. Well, those are mindset blocks. And we just know that's all they are. They're mindset blocks. The style of marketing has been successful in many, many different industries. And again, I've got hundreds of lawyers across the country who can attest that if they do the stuff, it actually it works.
In fact, the idea is to stay in front of the client with interesting and educating information, as you said, and really, in fact, you've written books, but you could do this with 3 or 4 page or even 1 page special reports. The real issue, I think you're saying here, Ben, is just stay in front of them with good stuff, and you'll be at the top of the list when they need a lawyer.
That's right. And I started with 1 and 2 page reports, and sort of the great thing about what we're doing now is we're helping lawyers implement and get kind of up to where we are now a lot quicker than the years and years it took me to figure this all out. So I say write a book, but it's just not that hard. We've got the templates, and my first book, I just took my dictaphone and went out 2-hour walk in the woods and dictated the book, and it was 75% of the way there, and then we refined it from there. So again, I think sometimes when I speak, people get overwhelmed. What we teach lawyers who come to our seminars is what we want you to do is we want you to take 1 or 2 of these ideas and get them in place and get them working, get them systematized. Okay, now 6 months from now we'll add idea 3 and 4. 12 months from now we'll add 5 and 6 to it. And now you're layering. That's how I get to 11 steps. I didn't start at 11 steps. I started at 1, went to 3, went to 5, got another idea. But now when one of my competitors looks at what we're doing, they get exhausted just thinking about it. And then they do nothing, which
right.
is the 80-20 rule. Most lawyers, even when they listen to this interview later, will say, they'll never implement for whatever reason. Timing's not right, don't have enough money, don't have enough time, too much work. They just won't implement. I'm working with the 20% of the lawyers across the country who kind of get it, and they really want to supercharge not just their marketing, but supercharge their lives.
But you got to start somewhere. Even if, as you said, it wasn't 11 reports or 11 touches in 14 days, you start somewhere with the basic premise. Your idea about the outsourcing the customer relationship management software is a good one, and I just want to confirm with you that it's better to go with an outsourced solution because they will back up the data. If you have a problem with your hard drive and you lose all your data, you're screwed. So that's really a lot of the benefit, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Working with reputable vendors who, like the Visa card people, have multiple backups in some, bomb-protected place out in the Midwest is how I understand all of that works. Redundancy is good.
Let's talk, if we can, about classified ads, which are used a lot by personal injury attorneys. Would you use the same sort of format of headline and irresistible offer in a classified ad as you would in a Yellow Page ad?
Absolutely. Part of what I know to be true and teach is that all media works. So classified ad is just another form of media. Now, think about it, though. It's tougher than Yellow Pages in this regard. In Yellow Pages, someone is in there because they've had an accident and they're looking for a lawyer. You run an ad in a newspaper, a classified ad, well, that's just going out there. And Cole, if you didn't have an accident yesterday, you're ignoring that. So it's a tougher media in that regard. However, you can use newspaper advertising, classified advertising, to do what I call herd building. That is building up your database. And so one of the things you might think about is like broadening your report. So you produce a report not just about a car accident, but we've written a book, How to Buy Car Insurance in Virginia, what your car insurance agent doesn't want you to know. And so that's a little bit broader appeal than hoping that you're hitting someone who's had an accident yesterday. But yes, sir, the same principles apply. In other words, if you're going to run a classified ad that says Ben Glass Law, Fairfax, Virginia, call us, that's just a waste of money. We want to make an irresistible offer. Make the reader go, I ought to just pick up the phone and order this whatever right now. It's free. I'd be brain dead stupid to not do that. That's what we're trying to do with all of this.
Gotcha. Now, I mentioned earlier, the late night cable shows, commercials about getting massive amounts of money for your injuries, which runs, chills up most lawyers' spines. How do you stay out of trouble with the ethics police? And it's interesting. I don't know if you saw the Wall Street Journal today.
I did. Yeah.
that article was really funny about the spaceship causing a personal accident, as well as using animals in different ads, whether it be a shark or a lion.
Well, I just laugh when I picture the members of the Florida Bar Advertising Committee sitting around a room deciding that the sound of a bouncing ball is somehow wrong. I mean, that's what I call the fun. I think the funniest thing is that they're trying to regulate sound, but that's another subject. It's really easy. It's really easy, and for one thing, and one of the best ads in the country right now is being run by one of my members, Chris Davis, out in Seattle. And if you go to YouTube, some of these video sources, and search for Chris Davis, Seattle personal injury lawyer, you can see a bunch of his stuff. But basically, the ad says, and he's got different versions, but he says there's a new book in town for Washington State accident victims, and this book will tell you, the 10 deadly sins and the mistakes people make in hiring a lawyer. And so, first thing, Cole, is we're advertising the book. An advertisement about a book is not an advertisement for legal services. So it's outside of the legal ethics rules to begin with, because again, we're not saying Chris Davis is a great lawyer. We're saying, here's a book.
Right.
So that's number one. But number two, all of the ethics rules begin with an admonition that lawyers have a duty to educate the public. And so in any ad, TV, radio, website, we are so far away from doing the things that get lawyers in trouble. We don't need a pit bull. We don't need to say we're aggressive or we won all of our cases. All those things would certainly draw the attention of the ethics regulators, because we're not even on that planet. We're marketing information, not the law firm. And here's what's also true, is that most lawyer ethics rules, what they're regulating is advertising. So it's the public broadcast of information. But when you read them carefully, and you'll find that when people raise their hand and say, Ben, I want to know whether you've ever had a big verdict. Ben, I want to know about how long you've been in practice. And so now you're mailing them information. Well, they have requested this. It's not public advertising. And so there are even things you can do now in your shock and awe package that you probably couldn't do in your 2-page, yellow page ad. For example, states that prohibit testimonials in advertising, there could be no prohibition, I would argue, against putting a testimonial in your shock and awe package because that's what people are asking for. It's no different, Cole, than if they came into my office and they saw a wall of testimonials. All right, so the bar can't regulate that. But more importantly, we don't want to confuse people. But if we market the information, that's what we're supposed to be doing. And you don't even need to get close to any ethical boundary to be to distance yourself greatly from everyone else who's doing it by pit bulls or fistfuls of cash or gory accident scenes. We're not in that world.
There was a story about a guy in Chicago who had a radio ad with lions roaring in the background, saying that he was a lion in the courtroom. Yeah. And they found out that the guy had never even tried a case.
Yeah, we've seen in my book, The Truth About Lawyer Advertising, we outline a number of those sort of infamous situations that courts have reported on, and that's part of what any personal injury lawyer could do, is educate the public on how to choose a personal injury lawyer. What questions should you be asking these men and women? Should you be making a decision to hire a lawyer based upon he's got a flying saucer or a pit bull? And of course, the answer in your book or your report that you're giving the people is, heck no, that's not how a lawyer chooses a lawyer. Let's use the same system lawyers use, okay? And we set it out for them. And people are so thankful. Cole, people say to me when they get their stuff, is that you, Ben, are not the lawyer that they talk about. And when I ask them, what do you mean? He's saying, the president gets up and he says, all these junk medical lawsuits. And you hear the insurance companies saying it's all these, ambulance chasers. The consumer tells me that's not what I see you doing. And there can be no higher compliment paid to lawyers, I think, than, hey, you're helping to restore the image of the profession, particularly of the trial lawyer side of the profession.
So by educating, you're rising above all of it.
We certainly are. We know that we are, and it ultimately brings a higher quality client, because part of our marketing is we don't take junk cases. I'm sorry, but if you don't have any property damage and you waited 3 months to go to the doctor, we're not smart enough to do that case. And so we're weeding out cases that we wouldn't want in an interesting, ethical way. And so the client knows. The client knows that, this man or woman seems pretty smart, and I can trust him. And the next time me or someone in my circle of 50 needs a personal injury lawyer, now I'm not going to the Yellow Pages. I'm not going to the Internet. I'm not paying attention to TV, because this guy, Ben Glass, is sending me stuff every month, and he's interested, and he sounds like he has a head on his shoulders. So let's call him first. And so now that's the whole goal of managing your database. It's the next time, the bypassing all of the media. And overall, over time, the lawyer ends up spending, frankly, less money on this front-end Yellow Page advertising stuff. And I think you spend, more time and money on managing your database, talking to the people who are interested in you, and the return is higher, because we all know a referred client is worth so much more, and it's so much a better client. And what we're really doing ultimately is building up that a referral practice. I mean, that's where all this heads to.
Are you saying that your experience has shown that when you use this information marketing methodology, that you really don't even have to ask for referrals?
Well, we teach people to remind clients to refer, but because you are in front of them, you don't have to so directly ask. I mean, nothing wrong with asking for referrals. In fact, what we do is in our newsletters, we teach you how to refer. This is the clients that we are looking for. But I'm talking about eliminating, taking the local chiropractor to lunch and spending an hour begging for cases. That's gone. But I am talking about you communicating with other lawyers in other specialties, who don't compete with you, and using the same sort of marketing. Frequent communication. Here's what's interesting. Here's some interesting news in the personal injury world. You don't have to beg for anything, but the mere fact that you're in front of them and you're helping them, okay, you're giving them something interesting. There's, the human sort of, we call this good guilt. people will refer, not because you asked so much, but because you're establishing yourself as the expert.
You mentioned before Chris's use of YouTube, and when you go to your site, right, there is a video of you being interviewed. Talk to us about the power of video today.
It is huge for two reasons. One, still relatively new. And if you notice at Ben Glass Law that I'm not saying I'm the greatest lawyer in the world. I'm talking about why I wrote the books. I'm talking about some travesties of justice from the insurance companies, and I'm just trying to be interesting. So that's the first thing, is we're adding a media within a media, the audio-visual media within the Internet. But more, or just as important probably at this point, is it's still the Wild West in terms of the Internet. And there are not a lot of lawyers who have decent videos up yet. And with all sort of Internet media, the longer you have been in a place, the stronger, the more Google tends to like you, and Google is the search engine that most people are using, not, some of these big lawyer directories. Consumers don't know about that stuff, but so they're Googling, and actually, if you Google Seattle personal injury lawyer, because this is on the front of our newsletter for next month, you got Chris Davis with like 3 or 4 spots, and 2 of the spots are video spots from different websites, and so not only is he dominating the first page, but he's kicking his competitors off of the first page. So
he didn't even have to pay for it.
And he didn't have to pay for it. And he is shooting these at home with his wife using a digital camera, using a computer that you could buy at Best Buy, and he went on the Internet and bought $300 worth of a sort of lighting and backdrop material. So this is homemade video. He doesn't have to pay for it. It's better than a TV commercial because it runs, and think about it. I mean, it's playing for people who are looking for a Seattle personal injury lawyer. Although he is running TV ads for his book, these videos are killers. And if you sort of go to YouTube and look around at the lawyers, you'll see a lot of the same messages because, frankly, a lot of the guys that you see are guys that are in our Great Legal Marketing group. And so we're not only teaching it, but when we do our seminars, we set aside a day, people can sign up, and they can get their video shot. So there's some similarity, but still we're talking, thousands of lawyers across the country, and a handful now have figured this out and are really running with it. And it is very, here's another good website for your listeners. If you go to Bob Battle, B-A-T-T-L-E, bobbattle.com. He's a DUI lawyer, member of my mastermind group. He's got fantastic videos. And one of the things he does, I think if you hit the refresh button, is he points out some of the DUI website services and how they find lawyers that customers then get referred to, and he trashes that whole model. So, and Bob's he's a very funny guy. He's a stand-up comedian, but bobbattle.com is another.
And again, Ben, use the same methodology that you use in all of the other marketing tactics that you've described. Educate and possibly entertain.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I have to ask you before we leave, what is, if you have one, your favorite marketing tactic?
Well, let's see, the favorite marketing tactic, I guess my favorite media is the Internet. More than half of our cases come down through someone finding us through Google and ordering one of our books. I also like to, frankly, poke fun at or take a run at the sort of typical lawyer advertising and ask people, do you really think that it's important that the lawyer advertises that he cares for you? I mean, isn't that what you would expect your lawyer to do? And so if you're talking about favorite, well, it's knocking other ads that really don't give the consumer any useful information. And if you're talking about most useful media for us now, it's the Internet. I mean, people go on the Internet to do research about their case, or if it's their parents who aren't on the Internet, maybe the kids, the adult children are going on the Internet to find mom and dad, a lawyer. It's a killer. And when you have a system at the back end Cole. So once they fill out that form, there's a lot of things going on. It overwhelms the competition. So those are my favorite and my most useful.
Great stuff. Hey, Ben, how can lawyers get a hold of you and the services and the programs that you offer?
Well, here's what we're doing now. If they go to greatlegalmarketing.com, we currently have on the site for $4.95 with absolutely no strings attached, they can get 3 hours of a recorded live seminar that I did on lawyer marketing. We've sold that video for $100 in the past. But for $4.95 they can get it. And that really is the best way to quote-unquote contact me, because they'll get not only the 3 hours of CD audio, but my free report on lawyer marketing and all the information on how they could find out more about what we're doing. Also, on the top right of that site, greatlegalmarketing.com, they could download our testimonial book and see that what's been very interesting, Cole, is not only have we attracted the attention of personal injury lawyers, but now we have lawyers all over the country and in Canada in different niches. And at our last seminar, we had podiatrists and CPAs in attendance too. So the magic is this style of marketing works across industries, across professional services. And we're just, in the Great Legal Marketing side of my life, we're growing a bigger and bigger herd of lawyers who not only find it interesting, but who are actually implementing what we teach, and we're sharing with each other. That's important too, because Cole, if you come up with a good idea and you've got success, I talk to my coaching groups, my mastermind groups. It's in our newsletter. So we're really trying to raise the tide for all lawyers. And so anyone who wants to get on board, I would start by just buying the 3-hour CD for $4.95 and just listen and see if it makes sense for you.
It's nice to see lawyers collaborate rather than compete. So, Ben, I think you're doing a fabulous job and a great service to many lawyers. So thank you very much.
Well, thanks. It's been good to talk to you.
Likewise. This has been another edition of the Rain Dancing Expert audio series brought to you by Cole Silver. Until next time.